Growing older is a natural part of life, something we all must embrace. In the teachings of the Buddha, aging is not a decline, but a chance to grow in wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Yet, as we enter this sacred phase, it becomes more important than ever to surround ourselves with peace, truth, and spiritual clarity. The company we keep influences our mind, and therefore our path. As we grow in years, we must also grow in mindfulness. Just as we learn what to embrace, we must also learn what to gently let go. The Buddha once said, "If a man going down into a river, swollen and swiftly flowing, is carried away by the current, how can he help others across?" In the same way, we cannot walk the path of peace while being pulled by toxic relationships, even when those relationships are bound by blood. This video is not about judging or resenting others. It is about choosing serenity over chaos, and clarity over confusion. These 5 types of people, yes, even if they are family, can cloud your inner light, disturb your mental peace, and delay your journey towards spiritual liberation. This is a message of self-care through self-awareness, guided by Buddhist wisdom. In the next few moments, we'll gently reflect on the 5 types of people to avoid in old age. Each reflection is grounded in ancient Buddhist teachings, offering you practical insights and compassionate understanding. This isn't about cutting people off, it's about letting go with loving kindness, protecting your inner peace, and walking the path of non-attachment. Let us begin this mindful journey together. Number 1. The manipulator. Manipulators are those who twist emotions, exploit kindness, and use guilt as a subtle weapon to control others. And in old age, when our strength must no longer be physical but spiritual, such individuals pose a unique danger. Their presence can erode peace of mind, confuse clarity, and keep the heart entangled in sorrow. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us of this danger with striking clarity. An insincere and evil friend is more to be feared than a wild beast. A wild beast may wound your body, but an evil friend will wound your mind. This is no exaggeration, for emotional wounds penetrate deeper than flesh and are often more difficult to heal. Manipulators often arrive not as enemies, but as loved ones, disguised behind smiles, soft voices, and familiar ties. They can be our own children, siblings, or long-standing friends who use their emotional proximity as leverage, whispering phrases like, "You're all I have left," or "If you truly loved me, you'd do this for me." These words are not born from compassion or mutual respect. They are tools of control, designed to bind your heart with cords of guilt and duty. But the Dhamma, the Buddha's path, is not a path of obligation built on guilt. It is a path of liberation, freedom from clinging, and release from the 3 poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. The manipulator lives in delusion, often unaware of how much harm they cause, yet steadfast in the belief that they are entitled to your time, your energy, your attention, and your peace. But your peace is not a debt to be paid, it is a garden to be nurtured within. Mindfulness, as the Buddha taught, offers us the strength to observe without attachment, to respond without reacting, and to see others clearly without being caught in their emotional storm. In your later years, your emotional energy becomes sacred, a well you must protect with care, for you have spent decades giving to others, carrying responsibilities, solving problems, and walking through storms not of your own making. Now is not the time to let manipulative voices disturb the silence you have rightfully earned. It is not selfish to protect your peace, it is wise. As the Buddha said, as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame. And it is this very movement, praise to lure you in, blame to punish your resistance, that fuels the manipulator's game. They pull you close with flattering words, only to press guilt into your heart when you hesitate to bend to their will. But you are not a leaf to be tossed in the wind of others' emotional tempests. You are a being walking the noble path, deserving of rest, deserving of peace. It is not cruel to draw boundaries, it is compassionate clarity. It is not unkind to say no, it is an act of inner strength. You can still offer kindness, but without attachment. You can still show love, but without surrendering your soul. Boundaries do not mean you stop caring, they mean you start caring wisely. Speak your truth gently, without fear. Say, "I am not able to take this on," or my peace must come first. And say it with a calm heart, not to provoke guilt, but to affirm your own worth. The manipulator may not understand this immediately. They may push harder, accuse, or retreat into silence. But do not be drawn in. Do not trade your serenity for the illusion of keeping the peace. True peace does not come from pleasing others, it comes from honoring your own spirit. Let them go, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in compassion. Wish them well on their journey, and return to your own. You are not abandoning anyone, you are returning to yourself. And in doing so, you create space for deeper stillness, for genuine love, and for the kind of freedom the Buddha so lovingly described, not a freedom of the body, but of the heart. As the sun sets gently on your life's long day, let it set on peace, not conflict. Let your remaining time be yours, not claimed by the demands of others, but cherished in quiet wisdom, in spiritual joy, and in mindful, fearless grace. Number 2. The self-absorbed. The self-absorbed person lives in a world where every interaction must orbit around their desires, their worries, their triumphs, and their pain. They do not see others as individuals with their own stories and struggles, but merely as supporting characters in the ongoing drama of their lives. Every conversation eventually circles back to them, their needs, their thoughts, their crises. Your joys may be ignored, your sorrows minimized, and your silence misunderstood. Over time, your presence becomes less of a shared human connection and more of a convenient echo chamber for their self-centered monologue. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha reminds us, if one holds oneself dear, one should diligently watch oneself. This is not an encouragement to become self-involved, but rather an invitation to cultivate self-awareness and discipline. The self-absorber, however, lacks this mindful introspection. Their sense of self is bloated, not balanced. Instead of watching themselves, they expect the world to watch them. They believe that their emotions are more valid, their problems more urgent, and their opinions more valuable. They are not interested in mutual exchange, only in being heard, praised, or pitied. And in our later years, when our time becomes more precious and our energy more limited, these relationships become especially draining. The self-absorber does not simply consume your minutes, they drain your spirit. They talk over your wisdom, interrupt your silence, and mistake your patience for consent. And when you offer support, it is never enough. When you express your own needs, it is often too much. Such imbalance is not the foundation of spiritual companionship, it is the erosion of peace. Buddhism teaches us that true love is metta, pure loving-kindness born of selflessness and genuine regard for the happiness of others. But a person wrapped in ego cannot express real metta. They love attention, not people. They crave affirmation, not understanding. They demand emotional labor without reciprocity. They confuse affection with applause, and they make your presence feel like a duty instead of a joy. Sadly, these individuals may not be strangers. Sometimes, they are the ones closest to us, a child who never learned emotional responsibility, a partner who never outgrew the habit of centering themselves, a lifelong friend who cannot accept that the seasons of life have changed. You may feel a heavy weight of guilt when you consider stepping back, especially if that person has come to rely on you as their emotional anchor. But even the Buddha, in pursuit of truth and spiritual liberation, left his family, not from coldness or abandonment, but from profound love and clarity. He knew that one must walk the path of freedom for oneself, and that attachment often disguises itself as duty. To step back from someone's constant demands is not cruelty. It can be the most compassionate act, both for them and for you. For them, it creates space to see their reflection clearly. For you, it protects the sacred calm you have earned. In your later years, you deserve to be surrounded by conversations that nourish your soul, relationships that respect your boundaries, and silence that heals your heart. You do not need to be anyone's unpaid therapist, anyone's emotional lifeboat, or anyone's endless audience. You have given enough. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." This profound truth means that no matter how much you care, you cannot walk another's path for them, especially not if it leads you away from your own. You are not their healer, not their mirror, and not their savior. You are a traveler on your own journey, a soul deserving of serenity and rest. So if you find yourself constantly pulled into someone else's drama, gently step back. Be kind, be clear, and withdraw without resentment. Do not try to change them. Let them remain with their mirrors and their echoes. You, walk on. Walk toward the still waters of inner peace, the open skies of spiritual freedom, and the quiet joy of being enough without needing to be everything for anyone else. This is the gift of your later years, the right to be at peace, the right to choose who you allow into your sacred space, and the right to live gently, wisely, and freely. Number 3. The critical. The critical person is not one who seeks truth, but one who seeks control through judgment. Their words are sharp, not because they aim to sharpen your awareness, but because they are designed to wound, to dominate, and to diminish. Unlike honest feedback, which encourages growth with compassion and care, constant criticism gnaws away at your spirit, creating an atmosphere of fear, doubt, and emotional exhaustion. These individuals often carry an air of superiority, an attitude that their way is the only way, and anyone who fails to meet their expectations is inadequate. Their praise is rare and conditional, offered only when it reinforces their power over you. Over time, their criticism becomes internalized. Even when they're not physically present, their voices continue echoing in your thoughts, second-guessing your decisions, shaking your confidence, and robbing your peace. It becomes a mental habit, an inner dialogue that no longer needs their words because it has become your own. The Buddha warned against such harm, not by encouraging resistance through anger, but by guiding us toward compassion and liberation. He taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Yet the critical person, cloaked in self-righteousness, sows the seeds of hatred, not always with malice, but with an unchecked ego. They may say they are trying to help, to improve, to guide, but their methods betray their true intentions. Real help uplifts, encourages, and heals. Criticism that humiliates or belittles is not compassion, it is control. And as we grow older, our sensitivity to such negativity deepens. The heart longs for stillness. The mind becomes more attuned to peace. Harsh words, once easily dismissed, now leave lasting impressions. Emotional bruises take longer to fade. And yet, the critic rarely notices this shift. They continue with their judgments, often unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, about the emotional and spiritual damage they cause. It is important to understand that their behavior is often not about you at all. Critics frequently project their own inner pain, disappointment, and insecurity onto others. Their harshness stems from unresolved wounds and unexamined fears. Whether they are parents who never healed their own childhood pain, children struggling to process their failures, partners trapped in comparison, or even fellow spiritual seekers caught in ego, what they offer is not guidance, but a cry for control. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to reflect, not react. When you are constantly criticized, especially by those closest to you, your mind can begin to believe those false narratives. You start questioning your worth, doubting your choices, and losing sight of your truth. This clouding of awareness is deeply harmful, for it blocks the path to liberation. You begin to live not mindfully, but defensively, guarding yourself against words instead of opening yourself to insight. But the way forward is not to argue or to plead for understanding. It is to release. Release the need for their approval. Release the illusion that you are broken and need fixing. You are not a project, you are a person, a soul in sacred transformation. You are not unfinished, you are unfolding. With each breath of mindful living, each moment of self-compassion, you grow, not because of their criticism, but in spite of it. The Buddha offered us this gentle reminder: speak only that which is true, spoken at the right time, spoken gently, and spoken with a mind of love. The constant critic fails this wisdom entirely. Their words may be true or false, but they are rarely timely, rarely gentle, and almost never rooted in love. In your later years, your peace must be protected. Choose silence over noise. Choose truth over torment. Choose relationships that reflect understanding, not judgment. You deserve the kind of presence that listens with the heart, that speaks with kindness, and that honors your journey. Let the critical voices drift away. Let their approval go unneeded. Let their judgments remain with them. And step forward, softly, steadily, into a chapter of life defined not by how others see you, but by how you see yourself through the clear, still waters of inner peace. Number 4. The irresponsible. The irresponsible person is one who drifts through life without anchoring themselves to the weight of their own decisions. They move through the world without reflection, without foresight, without pause, leaving behind a trail of broken plans, repeated mistakes, and emotional debris that others are expected to clean up. When such a person enters your life, their chaos quickly becomes your burden. You find yourself entangled in the aftermath of their impulsive choices, financial instability, emotional meltdowns, forgotten commitments, all handed to you with an unspoken expectation that you will fix what they have broken. In your younger years, perhaps you did. Perhaps you ran to their rescue, fueled by love, duty, or the illusion that you could change them with enough effort. But now, in the sacred chapter of old age, that energy must be protected like a flame in the wind. The Buddhist teachings are crystal clear on this point. You yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. This is not a message of detachment but of empowerment. It reminds us that each person is the heir to their karma, the author of their story, and the one responsible for their awakening, or their suffering. Yet the irresponsible person resists this truth. They demand support without introspection. They make choices without wisdom, and then expect others to cushion their fall. Instead of learning from failure, they seek escape. Instead of growth, they choose blame. They refuse to sit in silence and reflect, and so they continue to repeat the same harmful patterns, pulling others into the same cycle. In their presence, peace is replaced by anxiety. Their emergencies become your stress. Your home, which should be a sanctuary, becomes a revolving door for their drama. Their emotional mess becomes your spiritual weight. And while your heart may ache for them, especially if they are your child, partner, sibling, or friend, the truth remains: love is not the same as enabling. Buddhist mindfulness asks us to be caretakers of our own inner world. Just as we sweep the floors of our homes, we must also tend to the quiet of our minds, clearing away the noise, the clutter, the disturbances that block our stillness. The irresponsible person brings that clutter. They don't mean to, often. But their refusal to take ownership of their lives creates disharmony wherever they go. And so, your compassion must evolve. True compassion does not mean shielding someone from the consequences of their actions. It means stepping aside and letting the Dharma teach them what you cannot. The Buddha did not lift others and carry them on his back. He lit the path and said, "Walk it." That is the greatest kindness, to trust that even in falling, a person can rise, learn, and become strong. When we interfere too much, we do not protect them, we delay their growth. And we drain ourselves in the process. In old age, your energy is no longer for damage control. It is for presence. For meditation. For deep listening. For inner peace. You must guard it fiercely. You must choose where it flows. Let it nourish your soul, not be squandered in someone else's repeated chaos. This is not abandonment. This is wisdom. It is the wisdom to let go with love, to walk away without anger, and to say quietly to yourself, "This is not mine to carry." When you do this, you reclaim your path. You return to stillness. And in that stillness, you find the space to breathe, to be, to awaken, not in reaction to others, but in gentle harmony with your own sacred truth. Number 5. The ungrateful. The ungrateful person is one who walks through life blind to the blessings around them, constantly focused on what they lack rather than what they've received. They forget kindness as soon as it's given. They take and take, your time, your effort, your love, without pause, without thanks, and often without even the awareness that something sacred was offered to them. In their world, generosity is expected, not cherished. Sacrifices are assumed, not acknowledged. And for those who give from the heart, this absence of appreciation can feel like a deep and quiet wound. The Buddha, in his boundless clarity, once said these two people are hard to find, one who will do a kindness, and one who is grateful for a kindness done. As we grow older, those words echo louder, and their truth becomes sharper. We begin to reflect on all the ways we have shown up for others: the late-night phone calls, the meals prepared, the money lent, the patience extended, the guidance given, the love quietly offered over years. And in that reflection, we realize that not everyone truly saw what was given. The ungrateful do not wound with fists or loud words, but with silence, with forgetfulness, with the dull ache of being unseen. Their hurt is subtle but enduring. Your kindness becomes invisible in their eyes, your sacrifices are treated as obligations, and your love is met not with warmth, but with cold expectations. Ungratefulness, at its root, is not just a lack of manners, it is a spiritual blindness born of ego and delusion. It is a state of mind where the self is so central that others become nothing more than tools or resources. A person in this state cannot truly love, because love requires recognition. It requires that we see the light in another and bow to it. But the ungrateful see only what they lack. They view life through a lens of deficiency, never abundance. And so they miss the miracle of being loved. If you've spent years trying to make them see, hoping that one more act of kindness might open their eyes, you must now hear this truth with clarity. It is not your burden to cure their blindness. Let them go, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in peace. Buddhist wisdom reminds us again and again, let go of what is not yours. And this blindness, this inability to receive love with gratitude, is not yours to carry. Your light does not need their recognition to shine. Walk on. Walk on with gratitude in your own heart. Let your heart remain soft, not bitter. Let your hands still be open to give, but only to those who see you, not because you need their praise, but because you deserve to be in the presence of those who whisper, "Thank you," with sincerity and warmth. In old age, this discernment is not selfish, it is sacred. You have nothing to prove, no role left to perform to earn appreciation that should have always been freely given. Let the ungrateful remain in their own shadow of discontent. You, walk in light. Walk with those who see you, who meet your kindness with humility, who understand that love is not owed, but offered. And as you walk, feel the release in your bones, the relief in your breath, the calm in your chest. This is the gift you now give to yourself, freedom from the need to be seen by those who have chosen not to look. In that freedom, you will rediscover the joy of quiet giving, not out of habit, but from choice, from wisdom, from clarity, and from the deep peace that comes when we finally stop chasing gratitude and start walking with those who already carry it in their hearts. As we come to the end of this reflection on the 5 types of people to avoid in old age, let us now turn inward to understand the deeper purpose behind letting go. In the quiet, reflective stillness of aging, when the noise of the world begins to fade and the soul turns inward, truth begins to speak with unmistakable clarity. The teachings of the Buddha were never about rejection with harshness, but rather about recognizing, with deep wisdom, what no longer serves the heart's journey toward liberation. These 5 types of people, the manipulator, the self-absorber, the critical, the irresponsible, and the ungrateful, are not to be seen as enemies, nor even obstacles, but as silent teachers on the path. They have shown you, in their actions and in their energies, what peace does not feel like. They have taught you, through discomfort and disturbance, the sacred value of serenity, honesty, and compassionate detachment. Letting them go is not an act of bitterness or selfishness, it is an act of awakening. As you step into your later years, the path must become more focused, more intentional. Like a river narrowing toward its final flow, your life should now be filled only with what nurtures the soul and elevates the spirit. These years are not for carrying what is heavy, but for setting it down. You are not alone in this journey. The Dharma is your guide. Mindfulness is your home. Inner peace is your true companion. Walk forward with trust in the teachings that have stood the test of time. As you walk through the gentle dusk of life, ask yourself with loving awareness, who makes my breath deeper and calmer? Who leaves my mind in stillness rather than in knots? Who shares in this sacred present moment, honoring it with presence and grace? Choose to walk with those who bless your silence, not break it. Remember, avoiding toxic relationships is not rooted in fear, it is rooted in freedom. Freedom to meditate in peace. freedom to sit without disturbance, freedom to listen without defense, freedom to walk the Eightfold Path without entanglements of confusion and obligation. Your spiritual journey, especially now, is too precious to be weighed down by chaos disguised as loyalty. These final years can be your most sacred ones, not an ending, but a profound beginning. A time of inner blooming, quiet transformation, and gentle joy. You do not need to rescue others to prove your worth. You do not need to hold on to pain to show compassion. You do not need to stay where you are unseen or unheard. You only need to return home, to your breath, your wisdom, and your heart's rightful rhythm. And so, dear listener, as we draw this reflection to a close, we gently invite you to continue walking this path with us. If this message has brought stillness to your heart, please subscribe to Mindful Pathway Media. Share this offering with someone who may also be carrying too much. Let us not force peace, but reflect it through simplicity, kindness, and clarity. May your days ahead be filled with Buddhist wisdom, mindfulness, non-attachment, and the deep joy of growing ever closer to your true nature. Thank you for allowing us to walk with you. May you walk gently. May your heart be light. And may we all continue onward, mindfully, together.